You see them all over the internet, countdown timers just like this. And the reason you see them is because they work. They help people be motivated to take action on your offers. And it's just as simple as putting up a countdown timer like this and adding some form of a discount or some form of scarcity that is tied to that countdown timer. They're completely irresistible. Now, the good news is Kadence Blocks, as well as Kadence Blocks Pro, has one of the most advanced countdown timers, yet it's very simple to use. In this tutorial video, I'm going to go over it completely. Now, there's a bit to unpack here because it's more than just a countdown timer. We have countdown timers that could be evergreen, or they could be using a fixed date. We also have the ability to sync that with multiple countdown timers in multiple locations on your website. Keep it entirely in sync. And we also have countdown containers. Yes, that is something entirely different, and I'm going to show you what that is as well. And we also have options of what happens once that countdown timer hits 0. So we have a lot to unpack in this video. Let's get started. Now, it's important to make perfectly clear that this countdown timer will work with any theme that you're using, and you can place them anywhere that you can also place a block. So even though I'm using the Kadence theme, you can use this with any theme because it's actually a block inside of Kadence Blocks. Now, the second thing I want to make clear is there is a countdown timer in the free version of Kadence Blocks. Now, the pro version of that countdown timer has much more power, flexibility, and options. So I'll try to focus this video on the pro version, but if you are just going to use the free version, you'll learn how in this video. All right, so I'm going to go to Appearance and then Elements, and I've already created this element right here that doesn't have anything in it. So I'm just going to choose Default right here, and just like any block, we can go and click on the plus and do a search for countdown. Here it is. I'm just going to drag and drop that right there. And we have our countdown timer. I can click on it and it's going to reveal a bunch of the options here. But let me go ahead and put this in a date in the past so I don't have this ticking going on. There we go. All right, so now let's try to go through some of the settings, and we're not going to kind of go in order. Let me just actually show you just the settings in order, but I'm not going to go in detail in each one just yet. Now, when you first drag the countdown timer onto your layout, you'll see it, and it's also in a countdown container. So when I click the navigator icon up here, you can see this is the countdown container, and this is the timer itself. So when you drag the timer onto your page, both of these are created instantaneously. This will make sense in a moment why this is. So if you're just using the free version of Kadence Blocks, you would then go ahead and choose a date for this countdown timer in the future. Now, if you're using the pro version, you get evergreen. So you choose your date, and then you would scroll down and use the various options here that you're already used to in order to style this countdown timer. So you go here to the countdown layout, and I'll just show you the layout options, and then I'm going to get into more of the advanced features of this countdown timer. So this is the block version where you have the numbers above these labels here. But if you went inline, it would be like this. And this is actually a really good layout. And you can append text to the front or the back. You can do that for both of these. So if you wanted to have something in the front, and there we go. I put some text in the front and in the back. So it says the sale ends and then the countdown timer. So take action fast. And then you have your alignment options right here. So these are the two different formats that you get, and you get full control over changing out the labels. If you didn't have days in your countdown timer, you can toggle that off. And then if you didn't have hours, you could toggle that off. So let's go ahead and put those back on. But you have these options. And then you have the typical styling options that you're already used to when using Kadence blocks. You've got control over colors, spacing, and your typography. You have them separate for the number as well as for the label that's there. And when you're using the pre-text, that's where it says the cell ends. You'll also have font options there as well as the text right here. So if you don't use pre and post, these options right here will not be available. So you'll see when I remove it like this and I remove it like this, you're going to see that those options are no longer there. Let me collapse these up. They're no longer there. So with that out of the way, let me put my layout back just like this. And I want to explain this concept of the countdown container and how a countdown timer can, or maybe you don't want the countdown timer inside of the container. So you activate this option right here where it says actions after expire. So let's take a look at these. So first is the default option, which would be to show the timer at 0. And this is included in the free version of Kadence blocks. However, we have 3 pro options here, which is to hide. And this will hide the entire container and everything in it, including the countdown timer. Then right here is replace content. And then right here is redirect. So redirect will make it so when someone goes on a page that has a countdown timer that has reached 0, they won't even be able to go on that page. It's immediately going to redirect them to a different page on your website. So let me just quickly show you these 2 options right here. And then I'm going to explain this concept of the countdown container. Then I'm going to explain Evergreen and keeping Evergreen countdown timers in sync that are on different parts of your website. So first I'm going to choose replace with content, the pro add-on right there. And you might not have noticed it is right here, we have a new option. This is what shows when the countdown timer has not reached 0. And then when I click on expired, this is what shows after the countdown timer has expired. And here is that countdown container. You can click on the plus right here. You might want to add a row layout and start adding text or a layout. In fact, you can put the contents of an entire page inside of this container. So to pull up those options again, you can see when I click on the drop down, I want to click on the main container right here. And when I do that, it's live and expired. Okay. So all of these options for the countdown are when you're at the container level. So if I go here and I click on the plus and then I add a row with some columns right there. And then let me just go ahead and add a little bit of text. And there we go. I have some text here in each of these columns. You can see when I click on the navigator here, this is the content inside of the countdown content. But if I want those options and I don't see them here on the right, I have to click right here where it says countdown, and then I have all of my countdown timer options. Okay, let's go back to where it says live. So right here we have our countdown timer, but we really don't have the options to control the layout in a live container. And there's a very easy toggle switch for this. So let me introduce to you the concept of the countdown container. By default, when you drag the countdown timer on your layout, the container is only going to have 1 block in it, and it's the actual countdown timer. But that doesn't give us the layout flexibility that we may want as far as what you can see right here. This is a row with a column that has the countdown timer and a column that has this little bit of text right here. So this is a bit of a more advanced layout inside of a countdown container. And so if we want to have that layout control inside of a countdown container, what we need to do is go to where it says countdown layout, and there's this option here that says display countdown, and we need to toggle that off. Now I have design control inside of my countdown container. Anything I put inside of this container, whether I put this countdown timer back in it or not, anything I put inside of this container will have this countdown timer where it will switch to the expired content. So now let me show you how I made this layout right here with the countdown timer. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus, and I'm going to click on the row layout, and I'm going to do a 2-column, and then I'm going to click on the plus here, and I'm going to type countdown just like that. And now I'm going to have the flexibility to place the countdown timer anywhere that I want inside of the countdown container. And there's my countdown timer right back. And when I go up here to the navigator, it doesn't add an extra countdown container. Everything is inside of this one countdown container. So basically, if you just want a countdown timer and you don't want to control the design inside of the container, well, you would have been good to go by just dropping the first countdown timer on your page, styling it up, and doing whatever you want. But if you want to have a more advanced countdown timer, you would toggle it off in the container and then put it back in, but inside of a layout that you place inside of the container. So now right here, I'll just go ahead and enter in the advanced heading like this, and then I can start typing my text as I have it right here. All right, so now we have this countdown container with this clock. And if I go right here, here's my countdown timer, and you can see I do not have, when I'm clicked on the timer, the settings for when it will expire because it's linked to the container that the timer is in. So just like I showed you a moment ago, you have all of your styling options here for the countdown timer itself. Okay, so now let me go ahead and go back to the countdown container and show you the expiration options that you have. So I'm going to click on Edit Settings, and when I do that, it takes me up to the countdown timer right here, the countdown container, and this is where we want to be. All right, so we have a date, and this is pretty straightforward, right? It's a date in the future. So if I wanted to make it the 31st, you could see I have my time automatically set. But we also have an option here that says Evergreen. And what Evergreen is when someone visits the page with this timer, it's going to start ticking down just for that user. So if I set this to let's just put in here 22 hours and 16 minutes. So when someone visits this page where I've placed this countdown timer, it's going to start ticking down just for that user. And what happens is a cookie is going to be placed on their computer, and that's how when they come back, we'll know exactly where they are inside of this countdown. Okay. Now, what we do is we also have an option to tie it to an IP address. What that means is if someone has come to your page and the countdown timer has started and they're on their desktop computer and there's a cookie, and then they go to their laptop, still at the same office or home location, and then they go to their laptop and visit the page, well, it's not going to have, that computer will not have the cookie. So in that situation, you can toggle this option on that says verify by IP address. Now, when you verify by IP address, what happens is when they first visit the page with this countdown timer, we're going to capture their IP address. And then when they look at that same page on any device, whether it be a phone, a laptop, a tablet, any device that is using that same IP address for the network that's on the same network there, it will As soon as they visit, it will find out what their IP address is, check to see if they have a current timer that they're in, and then if they are, it will put the cookie on their computer and start it completely in sync with the other devices on the network. Now, there's one side effect to this. That process of capturing and checking the IP address does produce the ever slightest delay. And we have a little note about that right here. So what that means is if someone is to visit this page per se, and they first visit this area here, this entire countdown container with the timer will not show. And then a split second later, after verification's done, if they are in the middle of a countdown timer, or if they haven't visited the page, all the page content will be pushed down and the countdown timer and the offer will appear. It's a very split second thing, but that is what happens while we're checking the IP address. And so the same will happen if you just have a countdown timer just randomly placed inside of a page. What will happen is you won't see it, and then a split second later, it will push the content down and it will appear. So it's important to know what you're getting into with regards to that, as well as consider any GDPR implications that might be related to storing someone's IP address. Now, let me show you how to keep multiple evergreen countdown timers in perfect sync. And it's this option here that says campaign ID. So if I enter in a campaign ID right here, I've entered new visit offer. What I would do is I can create a countdown timer anywhere else on my website. And if I put the same campaign ID in, those two countdown timers will be perfectly in sync. Now, this is only needed when you're doing an evergreen countdown timer, because if you're using one on a fixed date, you would just have all the timers on your site have that same fixed date. Now, we also have an option here of resetting an evergreen timer for a visitor. So it's basically how often do you want to show this offer with this countdown timer for your visitors. So by default, we have it set to 30 days, but if you wanted to show this offer every 7 days or every 3 months, you have the option right here. Just enter the amount of days right here. And once that time has reached and the person visits your website again, that offer will be re-shown. They will get a fresh new countdown timer showing for them. So now let me go and show you how I've set up and configured this countdown timer right here. So I'm going to get out of this element, and it's right here. It's the fixed countdown timer. And I already have this assigned and working on the website right now. So first, let me show you the element settings. So if I click right here, I get my element settings. So for placement, I have fixed at the top. For my display settings, I have this set to single page and then set to individual. And then when it clicked on select items, and I just chose the single page I wanted to just show on. So you can see it only shows on this sales page. So when I'm on the home page, it doesn't show. But then the moment I go to the sales page, there it is. And that's how we set up our element. That's part of the Kadence Pro theme. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at how I have my countdown timer configured. So I have, let's actually go right here. So we have my container right here. And then we have my countdown content, which is everything that you can visually see. I've got a row in there with 2 columns. You can see them here. The first column has the countdown timer right here. And the second column just simply has an advanced heading. So let me go ahead and show you. So when I click on countdown, you can see it's all selected. I have it set to evergreen, 22 hours and 24 minutes. I have a campaign ID so I can keep this in sync. And I just have it set to hide. So when it expires, everything will just hide. It won't show. This whole thing just won't show. I find that simple, but I could have just as easily chosen replace or redirect if I didn't want someone to be able to access this page in the future. And since I've designed this container, when I go to countdown layout, you can see I have it turned off. Okay. And so now let me click on the actual countdown timer. So you can see right here, just like I was explaining, you don't have individual, when a timer's inside of a container, the timer itself will be perfectly in sync with the container's time. And so that's why it says right here, it's synced to the container it's in. But if I wanted to get back to it, I can click that button and I'm back. Let me get back into here. All right, so let's just take a look at how I have this styled. So you can see I have it centered inside of the column. So that's why I have this centered. So this would be left aligned, but I have it centered inside of the column. I prefer the block layout for what I'm trying to accomplish here. I like to show the 00 number format. So if I didn't have this enabled, it would just show a single digit, but I like the double digit. And I have this, my labels customized. And so for the count item setting, I don't have anything customized there. Now for the number, I changed the font to white. You can see that there, it's white. And I put a custom font size in there. Okay. And I made the font bold. For the label settings, I wanted the label to be real tiny. It doesn't need to be large. You see that there? It doesn't need to be large. That's not the highlight. It's that number is the highlight for me. So I made that just a 10, and I also made the color white. And then the container settings is where the red is coming from. So the container that the countdown timer's in, I put this red color. I like the look of that. And I tweaked with the padding just a little bit. If I wanted to have some more space above and below, I could increase those numbers. And so I have that there. And that's it to the countdown timer. Now, one of my favorite blocks in Kadence blocks is the advanced heading. So it's basically just a line of text here. And this I put in caps and I bolded. You can see it's bold. And then this is just all normal text right here. Now, you might be wondering, how did I do this save 25 like that? And that looks pretty cool. Well, the advanced heading block has something called the highlight feature. So basically, you can select some of the text like this, and then you could go over here to the down arrow and you can select highlight. So when I click this text here, this is actually using that highlight. You see that? It's highlighted. And when I do put the highlight on a portion of the text and I can scroll down, I have some options here. So it says highlight settings, and let's take a look at those. So the font color that's highlighted, I have set to white, the background red, and a border of this black. And then for the highlight border style, I made it dashed. And then I added a border width of 2 so you could actually see the dash around it. So it gave it kind of a coupon look. And then when I scroll down, I added a little bit of padding off to the left and the right. If I wanted more padding, I could increase these numbers, but I thought that looked perfectly good. So you can see that is just one of the really cool things that you can do with the advanced heading block with Kadence blocks. So now let me select the entire countdown, and there you have it. It looks really good. Now, let's go ahead and go here to the countdown, and that is how it looks. Lastly, I want to show you one quick tip on how to center content vertically inside of a row. It's actually very simple to do. So what we need to do is select the row that has this content in it. So I'm going to use the navigator, and here's my row. And you can see we have this option here to top align, center align, or bottom align. So if I did a top align, you can see the text move to the top, but it looks obviously better here centered, but you can even have it be on the bottom. So if you didn't know already, that's how you are going to align your content inside of a row. So there you have it. I'm sure you'll agree that this is one of the most flexible yet powerful countdown timer blocks available. And when put to good use, you can do some amazing things for your business by incentivizing people to take action now. If you have any questions specific to the countdown timer, you can ask down below, and we can't wait to see what you do with this countdown timer. Now, if you don't have Kadence blocks or the Kadence Pro theme, all of this is bundled in a single membership that is extremely affordable, and it also includes this template right here that you see inside of that membership, and it comes with a lot of other plugins that you can use to really do great things with your website. So you can visit Kadence Theme. We'll have a link in the video description box for more information about that. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.